We have been dealing with video game censorship as of late. It seems like, for whatever reason, video game companies want to censor over sexualized content. We're seeing it a lot with Stellar Blade just recently. But before that, Tomb Raider Remastered 1 to 3, Aspyr Games, they removed pinup posters of Lara Croft with a patch that happened, and it was met with a lot of backlash. People were calling it out left and right on Twitter, saying that this was a little bit much, that this was in the original game and that they took it out for whatever reason. And there was speculation that it was part of this whole weird narrative that people don't want women to be sexualized in their video games. Again, like we're seeing as of late, they've made Lara Croft essentially a shell of her former self to the point where she's not even a Tomb Raider anymore. And then Stellar Blade's been getting a lot of flack, and a lot of recent censorship of Stellar Blade has been uncovered as well. It's like, what's this deal? Why are they against the male gaze? They want trans gays to be there. They want stuff to be androgynous. They don't want women to be appreciated for actually being women. It's a whole rabbit hole if you want to deep dive into it. But as far as Tomb Raider goes, this situation was wild when it was first reported. People were talking about it. People were wondering, why would they remove something so petty in the game? You got to remember, Aspyr Games put a trigger warning before these remastered games, basically denouncing everything about it, saying that the games in the collection contain offensive objectifications of people and cultures rooted in racial and ethnic prejudices, that their stereotypes are deeply harmful and inexcusable and don't align with crystal dynamics, right? So all this stuff is going on in regards to Tomb Raider. They seem to be wanting to shy away from everything about it, but they have no problem taking the money, right? So when they removed these posters, it was unclear why. Who knows? I think that it was perfectly fine to have these posters. Yeah, she was in suggestive positions and stuff like that, but that's what Lara Croft always was. She was always a very beautiful, sexy Tomb Raider, like a powerful, strong woman, and they don't want strong, independent women to look good. They want them to look ugly. They want them to look like men, essentially. They don't want them to be overly feminine. Now, what is all this talking about? What's this about? Today, they put up a blog post. Yes, Aspyr on X put a tweet out saying, regarding the recently released patch 2 for Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered, they linked it to a blog where Aspyr Daniel said, "Thank you to the Tomb Raider community for your continued feedback and support for Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered starring Lara Croft. And the recently released patch 2, we've made several texture and graphical updates to the HD version. As part of these updates, the posters in Sleeping with the Fishes were inadvertently removed in the HD version of the game. This has been resolved, and these textures will be restored in patch 3. Inadvertently removed, let's be honest here, they're not fooling anyone when they say that it was inadvertently removed. When you're looking again at everything that's going on with the Tomb Raider franchise, how they're removing Lara Croft from everything that makes her Lara Croft, how in gaming nobody wants overly sexualized female characters. That's why Stellar Blade's under attack. You got to be honest. I'm having a hard time believing that this was inadvertently, that this was not something planned, that some snowflake developers in, Aspyr Games and Crystal Dynamics were like, we got to remove this. This isn't right. It's funny how things work out when backlash works just enough. And you could see on the actual Twitter of this, you could see people are just calling it out. There's NEH Winston saying, "I have a hard time in this day and age believing that the change was inadvertent, but it's certainly possible. Thank you for restoring them either way. My faith in Aspyr is restored. My only suggestion is to get the word out quicker should something like this happen again." And that's right. If this was inadvertent, you should have immediately been like, hey, guys, as soon as the backlash started hit, as soon as people started criticizing the removal of the posters, why would you wait weeks to say anything about it, to provide an update? If it was inadvertent, why don't you immediately say, hey, guys, there's some texture issues, some posters were removed, we didn't censor the game, we're not altering it. If it really was an accident, you guys should have came out, because being silent about it doesn't look good. Having these posters missing for weeks, seeing the backlash, and then suddenly posting an update about the patch, reinstating them, It's not a good look. It does not look good. It doesn't look like you're being truthful about what you're saying, and you're going to be called out. So, yeah, if it's an accident, call it out quicker next time, right? Next up, we have Fed Up Majority saying, I don't believe the change was inadvertent, but good for you listening to fans and fixing the poor decision. And that's the thing. I think a lot of these video game companies, these software developers need to listen to the fans' feedback when it's something that is crucial like that. Right now, it seems like we're going through a censorship bug throughout all of gaming right now. Developers are censoring games, especially when they're being ported over through localization. Again, we're seeing all this stuff with Stellar Blade, with outfits being altered and graffiti being altered. And it's just, people are getting sick of this. People are not liking the amount of censorship that we're getting when games are coming over here. Who knows why it's being done? Again, speculation runs rampant that just they're too pussyfoot. They don't want to offend people with certain over-sexualized things, and apparently they thought posters would be too offensive like that. I mean, honestly, no censorship is the way to go. People don't want that. There's no reason to censor games that are rated certain ratings for people. I can understand if it's something that in America it's going to be rated E, but if it's a mature rated game or a teen game or hell, even something for, young adults or whatever, you shouldn't completely censor what Japan had. Japan's doing just fine with what they have, or where games come from elsewhere. With Tomb Raider, that's part of the objective of the character. They've always had the memes about her cleavage. They've always had the meme about how she's very sexy looking. She's a strong, sexy woman. Now, I think you have more fans supporting your content if you don't censor, if you don't try to do this weird, I guess, I don't even know if it's like a narrative, like some kind of weird mission that these companies are all on, whether they're listening to people that are consulting them to do this stuff, whether they're listening to it. But you could definitely see this is a good step in the right direction. Seasum is saying, I'm glad the posters are coming back. I wasn't too sad about them being gone, but it's good to know you want to preserve the original look as much as possible, even in the new graphics mode. And ultimately, that's what it really comes down to, is preserving the original game. It's a remaster. You shouldn't cut out stuff. I mean, putting the trigger warning, I feel, is enough, right? That little snowflakey trigger warning telling people, hey, there's stuff in here that don't align with our current... I don't know. I even then, I think that's kind of cringe, but keep it true to the original game. Keep posters, keep background stuff. Keep it in there. Because this game is how old, and people are excited about the remaster, and you're making changes, and sure, people could say, oh, it's just a small little poster. Why are people crying about it? Because if you give people an inch, they take a mile. It starts with posters being removed. It starts with clothing being changed. It starts with dialogue being changed. And then before you know it, the whole entire game isn't true to what the original source was. So, censorship lost this time around. What do you guys think? Let me know down below.